This is just a very quick one off the back of a chemistry call with a really wonderful potential new client. And she asked me, what's your story, Mel? I'd love the backdrop of how you went from lawyer to life and career coach. I sometimes find storytelling quite helpful. I was at a brilliant event at KPMG this week with two fantastically inspiring female entrepreneurs who told their story. So it reminded me that it might be helpful to share mine for anybody who's unhappy in their career or who's noticed that they feel limiting beliefs around changing careers and how feasible that might be. So very, very quick overview. Let's keep it to 2 minutes. I really enjoyed law. I found family law really met a lot of my interests in terms of supporting clients at vulnerable moments, going through big changes. It really played to my analytical skills, my problem solving skills, the communication skills, the love of research and writing. But what I realized from, I guess, an accumulation of moments of frustration when I was cancelling dinner parties, cancelling dates, and in the end moving into a different law firm where I didn't, let's say, if I'm putting this politely, feel particularly inspired by aspects of the leadership. I realized that those frustrations and exasperated feelings really reflected an unmet need. In my case, I realized that fun was one of my values, having time to have fun. Shame on me. I like being able to go to dinner parties, dating and love. You know, that's a big value. Love, having a family, that sort of thing. I realized that was really important to me. I also realized that I wanted greater work-life balance, not for a moment suggesting all lawyers don't have work-life balance, although I can probably imagine the lawyers watching this are thinking, well, actually, Mel, I don't know many who do, unless they work in possibly regional law firms. So I realized that there were some major values that weren't being met. And having had a very entrepreneurial dad who did pretty well running his own commercial property business, I realized you don't have to kill yourself to make money if that's even one of your drivers. I'd often remarked, he doesn't have many wrinkles and he seems pretty happy most of the time. And he's always home by 6 p.m. And I kind of looked at some of my colleagues, again, not all lawyers, but some of my colleagues, and thought, actually, how do we define good pay? How I think of it now is net income. What's the income that you take away with you once you've minused the expenses? And that includes the emotional costs like stress, divorce, etc. So I was lucky to have that sort of entrepreneurial backdrop and that frame of reference. And I think I'd always had an interest in starting up my own business and realized that coaching could potentially open that door. In terms of how I found coaching, I guess I was doing a bit of my own research. I was on the top of a red double-decker bus in London and I read a brilliant article on coaching and I felt that ding, 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 soulmate feeling. And I thought, yep, this could be something. I also realized, as Steve Jobs says, you can join the dots only looking backwards. And I'd realized that I'd always been drawn to family law with a view to becoming a marriage counsellor. Now I can see that's because although I was really stimulated by law and really enjoyed that challenge, I guess I was always more destined to work with people at the coalface and maybe in a more emotional frame of reference. What coaching gave me that law didn't was, although I enjoyed supporting vulnerable clients, I found that coaching is more about empowering people. So my clients leave buzzing, kind of bouncing off the walls, fizzing with clarity, the clarity required to make confident changes that can transform their lives and happiness. Whereas I found litigation was more about damage limitation. So yes, it kind of felt good to help clients with divorce, but it also kind of felt ultimately like, oh, cool, we've maybe saved you some millions. You're maybe a bit less unhappy than you were in the beginning, but we just didn't really cut the mustard. Now I can see why for many reasons now, and I won't bang on about those right now, but that's the sort of general overview. And off the back of that, I went and had some fun in Madrid, eating tapas, drinking sangria, teaching Hanson lawyers business English, needed some time out, felt quite burnt out. And then I spent some time in the French Alps whilst doing my online coaching training, cleaning chalets and working as an airport assistant on the side, which was actually really fun, meeting loads of cool international people, working with really young people from different ski resorts, really leaning into that people skill aspect that I really love, and was able to start a blog and build my brand. But actually, it wasn't even consciously building a brand really then. It was just following my nose, leaning into curiosity and the things that really energize me, meeting people, writing, learning new things, and kind of listening to the kind of whisperings of my intuition really around that in terms of the coaching training. That's how it all started, and it all sort of grew holistically from there. So again, just to reiterate, if you're worried about changing careers, you don't think it's possible, I work with so many clients who don't just change careers, but sometimes radically and often maintaining very similar or greater salary levels. So Your brain will tell you all sorts of things you can't do, but I can tell you, you absolutely can. It's just a question of connecting with what you need first to be happy, getting that clarity, and from there, the rest is really quite easy.